Action! Welcome to the Rumikay Talks. Today we're gonna chat about new way of watching movies. If you haven't heard, Paramount Studios recently released the movie Mean Girls on TikTok, and you can watch the entire movie on TikTok. It was split into, I think, 22 parts, so each section is roughly about 2 minutes. So we're going to chat about that. Hi, Rumki?
Yeah, I think it was very interesting and surprising. And I'm sure that a lot of the TikTok girlies were super excited about it because, it's a cult classic and it's really fun. It's a really fun movie still. So I think it does fit the age group on TikTok. So it's an interesting marketing strategy. And I think it's kind of reviving the movie in a way. But I don't necessarily agree with chopping movies into parts and making them available on social media platforms. What do you think, Konstantin? Do you agree with this? Do you think it's right to do that?
The first time you told me about it, I was shocked. It was like, can be true. And so I did go to TikTok and I checked, and it was true. It is in horizontal format, but you watch it vertically, so there's a lot of black space, the black bars on the top and bottom. It's kind of weird because I thought I'm gonna lean the phone and it's gonna turn into like a widescreen, but it didn't. I don't know, maybe something wrong with my settings, but I don't think it just turns. I don't think it works that way on TikTok. I kind of started watching it, watched a few scenes. Show a few of my coworkers. They also were like, "What? The whole movie is on TikTok?" Yeah, and that was my experience. I haven't seen the entire movie yet. What do you think, Rumki?
Well, now when I think about it, I think that's actually worse than kind of cropping it into a vertical format, because from what you're telling me, it was kind of like you watch it vertically, but like the video is like in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of black space and the screen is like even smaller. So that's just not how movies are meant to be watched, There's something really special to watch them in theaters on a big screen. And it seems like the screens are getting smaller and smaller. And we are watching films on our phones, from our homes, on our phones, on our tablets. A lot of filmmakers don't like it because essentially we put so much work into the art form, you want to see it on a big screen and you want to have it like a group viewing experience versus like an individual watching at home, because there's just something special about it. But I don't think that's the main issue with it. It's just kind of like, what are the parameters of doing something like that? Like, how do the actors get paid? Do they get royalties from releasing their film on TikTok? Do they get anything from it, So I think this is where the problem lies, because I don't know how this will present itself in the future with other studios doing something like this. And it seems like, content and movies are becoming blended together.
Yeah, I think it's kind of strange that it's happening. Although, it's the movie everybody knows, at least our generation knows. And they just wanted, I guess, get a new audience with this movie. Maybe it's some sort of a trailer for people to oh, it's a cool movie. Maybe I can watch the whole thing and watch it on one of the streaming platforms or buy it. For me, the issue here is that it's not the same as watching the movie. It's pretty much as if you're just watching memes all the time. It's not like you're watching the whole film. It's like, oh, remember that scene from the movie? And then you go and you watch it. Oh, look, this is. But you know what's interesting? One thing I didn't like is that I wanted to kind of find a scene to watch, specific scene, but it's only just numbered. And you can see the thumbnail of it. So the only way you can recognize it is by the thumbnail, but there's not brief text describing what's happening. So that was one thing. Another thing is just, again, it's not watching the movie, it's just watching content on the phone, and it's boring, and it's just to show someone at work and laugh about it. It's not to watch the entire film.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I don't know, maybe there were people that really committed to watching the whole thing in parts. I mean, I know I've watched stuff on YouTube before. I wonder if this decision was made because they thought, the movie's gonna get ripped anyway. People might, or maybe they already have split it into parts on YouTube or anything. So they just decided to do that themselves. But it might be, a marketing trick. Who knows? Maybe they're coming up with a new part of Mean Girls, and they know that their target audience is on TikTok, and that it will be like a nice treat, to put the whole movie for their target audience there just for a day. So I don't know, but I definitely don't think it's something that studios should do permanently. And if we're blending these things together, we're putting our work, movies and series on social media, then there has to be new agreements, on like how everyone will get paid for this, and rights and royalties, getting the actors paid and all of that,
Well, yeah, paid is one thing, but another thing is actually the viewing experience. Are you going to watch that thing or not? Today I was at Target and I kind of got thinking about life while watching at the TV screens. You know how you go to Target and there's like a bunch of TV screens, big 65 inches, 5 inches and more, and they just like cover the entire wall. And I look at them and I was like, are we now going to be watching most of the stuff on our TVs at home? How many people will still keep going to theaters?
Yeah.
Or is there space for something entirely new? Like Apple trying to do with their Apple Vision Pro and stuff. I just kind of felt that my personal experience of watching movies wasn't like the feeling of watching movies isn't the same as it used to be when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was all excitement. It was all fun. And I think mainly because I was watching movies mostly in theaters. I was going to theaters watching movies on big screen. And when you watch the movie on the big screen, it gives you a huge impact on your life and everything. And it was easy to do because most of the screenings I went to were free or like very cheap because I had like a student card. But now, most of the time of my personal time is being spent watching films on TV, not in theaters. First of all, because of practical reasons. Second of all, because of, the kind of like pandemic effect. Even though there's no pandemic, it's still kind of like weirded out going to public places unnecessarily. And third is that you're really gonna go watch the movie in theaters that you're really excited about. We kind of like at the standstill right now, like a Mexican standoff almost of what the future of watching movies will be, because I don't think movies going anywhere. It's just the question of what kind of form it's gonna take. And right now, that's what's happening. Even the way of making movies is changing because LED panels were invented, the volumes, like the way that people make movies now allow you to achieve things that were impossible in the past and for that cheap. So I guess the main thing is to keep going, keep making films, keep finding new ways of making it happen, because at the end of the day, great films, they live forever. People still watching Lawrence of Arabia, and they will be watching it in the future. Imagine that you can watch Lawrence of Arabia on Apple Vision Pro to have a new immersive experience, remastering films from the past, and that's all great possibilities for the future. If it's like a poor kid somewhere in a distant country where they don't have access to theaters or even big screens, and the only way they can watch a movie is on the smartphone, that is like one smartphone per village. Sure, let them watch it there. What I don't want is for people watching content as opposed to watching meaningful films that leave you an impact. I want to keep watching great films, whether it's on iPhone, whether it's in theater, or somewhere else. All right, and now we arrived at the obsession of the week portion of this episode. So Rumki, what is your obsession?
Well, my obsession of the week is sheer socks. They're a really cool fashion statement, and you should definitely get your hands on some if you can find them. I got mine on Amazon, I just found some cool patterned ones, and I really, really like them. And what is your obsession of the week?
Well, this week I'm obsessed with packing for the trip. We are going to Europe. We're going to visit several countries, and the future episodes of the Rumikay Talks will be recorded somewhere in Europe, and we'll let you know where. So we're not gonna bring all of our equipment with us, so the sound will be a little bit different, but you're still gonna hear us crystal clear. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next week.
Bye, everyone.